Yes.
So what's up, everyone? We're gonna give everybody just a couple minutes to get in here, and then we'll get started.
Put the meeting in there.
Okay, I'm gonna let everyone know real quick, and then we're gonna get started. Okay. Mark up the charts a little bit. Let me just finish what I was doing here. Okay, so when we're looking at the charts here, we're gonna be going over we can go over SPY first. So when we're looking at SPY, you can see that taking a look at all of this, right? So we had a big gap up on Friday. That comes as a result of the Apple earnings, which Apple's earnings came out good, better than expected, so on and so forth. It seems like to me, we go look at the chart, it was just nothing more than a short covering rally on one of the biggest companies in the S&P 500, right? I mean, like, come on. I didn't think that this thing was just going to continue to fall apart. Was the largest company in the S&P 500. Now you can see here we are just trading along. If we look at the monthly time frame, I bet you anything it was probably 21 EMA. Yep, came right to the 21 EMA on the monthly time frame. Okay, we had a monthly squeeze, kind of was a failed breakout. We've got resistance up here, really around 200. So we get that breakout of 200. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be like in the very near future, but when we get that, we should see a pretty nice move to the upside on Apple. But in terms of everything else, you can see MACD's crossing or lose momentum on the squeeze, and daily time frame. Daily squeeze is finally fired off. Nothing really to do here, right? But with all that being said, it looks good, right? This kind of saved the market for some time. But if we go look at SPY, we zoom out on this chart. Now, like we've been talking about, I haven't been with you guys in a couple weeks, but or yeah, about a couple weeks. But kind of the same thing has still applied all throughout the past few weeks. So, and months really. So we've been talking about this for a while. So we review this at pretty much every weekly watch this class. So you should have this down a little bit now. We had a weekly squeeze, right? Fired off to the upside. We had our first loss of momentum here, and then two. So that kind of confirms that this move is probably about over. And so you can see here, once we got that first loss of momentum, we made one more high. So we had a high this candle, we had our first lost momentum bar, and then boom, there's our high. Now, what can we expect from what's going on here? So if we look at the chart and we can see based on the squeeze, this is the weekly squeeze. If you guys were in the mentorship, you know this is kind of the, I don't want to call it the rhyme and reason of the market, but it's kind of like our roadmap, right? So when we're looking at this, you can see um, we are currently about, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. About 9 weeks in of um the weekly squeeze ending. And so more than likely what we're going to see is we're probably going to see, in my opinion, what I think we're going to see is just some choppy price action. That's what I'm kind of expecting us to see in the next week or two. And really beyond that, I don't expect us to make a new high. I think we're going to be kind of chopping around for a while. And that's going to lean more towards day trading and things of that nature. We're not going to have as clean price action moves. So really, I think there's kind of my number one likely scenario that I think we're going to be seeing for about a month, maybe more, is sideways action in between this low here and this here. If we break below this low, this is going to trigger more shorts. We will want to get short the market and look for continuation to the downside here. Now, if we are here, if we get above this high, then we can start to look for continuation to the upside. But something that might explain this a little better is if we go look at the previous weekly squeeze. So we had a weekly squeeze fire off, we lost momentum, and you can see here we had that push back to the 21 EMA, had a nice little pop, came back down. I wouldn't be surprised to see this type of price action. Now, let me see if I can get a better drawing tool. Maybe I can just go like this. So we circle this. Okay. Now let's go to the daily chart. And you can kind of see here, right? We had first initially, we had a daily squeeze that pushed us to the downside. So weekly squeeze ended somewhere right in here, right? So we knew the momentum was losing. And then from there, what we had happen was a daily squeeze formed and kind of gave us a push to the downside to complement that weekly squeeze. Okay. And then from there, what happened was, and I can flip back and forth just so you're clear on it for anybody that studies the squeeze. So the weekly squeeze ended on this candle here. So if I go to my drawing tool and I circle this candle right here, that's where the weekly squeeze began its end, essentially. We go to the daily time frame. Ugh, hate that thing. Okay, so you can see that was that final candle, and you can see from there what happened was we pulled back and had a daily squeeze that fired us to the downside. Now I can tell you right now, look at this daily squeeze right here, and look how similar it was. Look at the similarities between the two. See this? See this? And see this? So what I'm looking at here is you can see, okay, we lost momentum, then we had a daily squeeze that pushed us to the downside. That's exactly the same thing that happened here, and I've been preaching for weeks, right? So that's how we've been able to catch a lot of the downside. We've been day trading it more, but we caught the downside here. Now we're chopping some because that daily squeeze is over. Now, what do I think is going to happen? Probably something similar to this. It's kind of crazy how similar this looks, right? So we pop up to here, we get a daily squeeze that pushes us lower. Then we got essentially a pop up, a higher low, a pop up, and then we trade sideways. And I think this may be what happens. right here. Now, what if I take this here and drag it over to this here? Pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy. Okay, something that might make it easier for you to see because I got all these levels drawn is if I go to ES and I clear this off. Now let's redraw this, right? So we're same concept, same chart. You guys should know that by now. Same chart. So we got to push up. Weekly squeeze ends here. We get a push down from a daily squeeze. Okay. Then we have a push up, short covering rally, higher low, and then we're here. Okay. That's essentially what happened, right? Now, if I take this same exact drawing and pull it over here, tell me that doesn't look crazy similar. Okay. Look at that. It's almost exact. Move higher. Daily squeeze, weekly squeeze ends. We have a push lower. Let's see if we even have a double top here. Yep, we ended up having a double top. Pretty crazy. So there you go. Push lower on a daily squeeze. We get this push back into the EMAs. Push back into the EMAs. We get a pullback, a higher low, pullback, higher low, and then a drive back up. Okay. Tell me this doesn't look the exact same. Like, I won't listen because it is. It looks exactly the same. All right. So now what are we going to expect here? I'm going to expect some of this right here, what we saw. I would imagine it's going to be very similar. And so really I'm expecting something like we get that push higher, we pull back to the EMAs to retest them, and then from there, I think we just chop around. And then from there, it's kind of unknown, right? We could either stay sideways for a while, we could push up, or we could do a number like we did here, where it was kind of like a fail to go higher, and then from essentially there we had a pullback and had a daily squeeze that pushed us lower again and then again, which ultimately this is just a channel that took us to a weekly squeeze that ultimately fired off to the upside. Okay. So I hope that makes sense, right? So you're pretty much always going to catch a bid off that 21 EMA. You're pretty much always going to catch bid off that 21 EMA. Now it's just a matter of, okay, are we going to, well, really, what's likely is we're probably going to revisit that at least one more time, is my opinion. So, and if not, we're going to trade sideways. And I think really your place to watch, I think we're going to hang out right between here for quite a while. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. So we want to day trade this more. Okay. That's what we want to be paying attention to and kind of day trading this more using the same strategies, just using the lower time frames, right? Same story for NQ, but if we go to SPY and I drop this to a lower time frame, we can kind of talk about some levels here. So in terms of here now, what do I think is going to happen? We're probably going to get a little more momentum to the upside. This is a ABC breakout. Okay. So what does an ABC breakout look like? Exactly like this over here. Okay. So an ABC breakout is when you put in a low and then you put in a lower high, but then you put in a higher low and then you break that lower high and have a push up. Okay. So that's all that is. It's to draw it out, it's a low. So like you're in a downtrend, right? And then so there's a low, then there's a lower high, and then there's a higher low, and then you break there. And there's your kind of break structure. Okay. So that is essentially what happened here. And if I drag this over, whoops. That's kind of what we're seeing here. Okay. So that's what I'm looking for. We've actually put in two higher lows technically. And what do you know? Well, this could be a bear flag for all I know, right? So really, I'm not expecting us to go much higher, but I'm going to play whatever it gives us. I'm really expecting some sideways chop. So we go to lower time frames. I can give you some levels that you may want to pay attention to into this week. So kind of the major levels here is probably this 508 area, 508, 507 area. And then from there, I think a major level that could be a breakout area for us would be right around this area here. So this 515. I think we're going to probably spend a lot of time in here this week, but I think there will be plenty of tradable opportunities. And this is kind of just the line in the sand, the line in the middle. I think that we're probably going to see more continued price action between this, but so we can kind of play the over under game. What I'll be looking for is a above 512. We can look for a push to 515. Below 512, we can look for a push down into 507. So that's how I will be looking at the charts. You've got a little bit of a level here around 510, 550, but really what you're probably going to see is we're going to get some sort of moves in between here, this level here, 515 and 507. I think that if we break below 507, we could probably see a continuation to the downside. And then you can just look for support around this trend line. I don't trade trend lines. As you can see, that's why I use this arrow, because I don't really use trend lines, but we do have to note that there is some sort of trend here. And we've kind of been bouncing off this area here. So I think that we could find, I wouldn't be surprised to see us trade around in here and then maybe go visit this, which is at year long support. And if we break below that 505, we could probably see a flush lower. So those are kind of levels to watch, but those are just guidelines. The main thing is you want to see what price action is doing, what the squeeze is doing, what momentum's doing, what the trend is. And these are just guidelines of, okay, we could stop and reverse here, and so on and so forth. They're not the end all be all. So that's kind of my analysis on SPY and what I'm going to be watching into this week. And yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think we'll go higher than 515. I really, really don't. At least this week. So I would expect to be trading in the zone. So kind of expect that. What's interesting, let's see. Let's see what the expected move is for next week. Because the expected move for next week. So for SPY, the expected move for Friday, which is going to be the 10th. The 10th, yep. If we go look at the 10th. Wow, where is it? Okay, a $6 move. So right now we're trading at 511. And then yeah, that fits outside of the expected range. So we're probably going to be trading in between this area. I wouldn't be surprised if we're trading right around this area. And just keep an eye out for that 510, 50 area, because that's also going to act as a support or resistance. But here are your key levels that I'd be watching into this week. Like I said, you've got kind of that midline right here around 512, and then you've got 515 to the upside and 507 to the downside, and got a little something going on around 510. So I'd be looking to trade in between this and just play that over under game that I was saying, right? So like if we're trading below 512, you can see if we get signals to short the market and go down to that 507. And then if we are continuing this trend upside, then you can look to go long into 515 and then just be cautious around that 515 area and see if we break through there. And then we've got resistance at 518 and 520. So that's kind of the roadmap for you this week. We can take a look at some of the names. We already covered Apple. I think as long as Apple hold the bid, we can see continuation to the upside. But right now it made its move and it's consolidating sideways. So it's kind of holding its move, which is important, right? So we'll see if that can continue up. It just had a daily squeeze spiral. Okay, NVIDIA. This one looks like it's just in a weekly bull flag. Looking at this chart, I really like the idea that we could continue upside. I think that we could make a continuation move above that 905 area. And from there, kind of go and possibly test these previous highs and just get a run in earnings. I don't know if we're gonna. It's tough because I don't. It depends on what the market's going to do. But if you're a pattern guy, here's your inverse head and shoulders. So we could be getting a breakout of that, and that might push us up into that previous high. I think before we get a major pullback, we'll get to that $1,000 level. But right now, looks good. MACD is crossing the upside, squeeze going to the upside. We've got all the kind of fixings of a push higher. And then all these other ones like Microsoft, it's just a reversion to the mean. The chart looks like bad. Doesn't look like something I want to trade. But we can kind of look and see because we're going to get to the point where some weekly squeezes are going to become in play again here relatively soon. The only one that has a weekly squeeze is Google and it's fired off. So if you're looking to go long, this is probably the best name to be looking long. So yeah. Okay. So if you guys have charts you want me to look at, send those in the chat and I can cover those. And we can kind of discuss all of that. We have PLTR and just type them in the chat, in the Zoom chat. Okay. PLTR. So this one, earnings. Okay. So I get a lot of these that typically when the charts come to like when I get chart requests, I've seen noticed often, they a lot of times are these earnings. I don't trade earnings. And it doesn't matter too much what the chart says. It's probably going to do whatever it wants as a result of earnings. And so I think that if you try to play earnings, I would be selling premium between these support areas and resistance areas. I think that earnings is a losing game, and I don't see the point because there's no edge unless you have insider information on their trading style and what they do. Um, I just don't there isn't an edge behind this. So maybe if you want to wait until after earnings and you get confirmation, that's what I will typically do is wait till after earnings. So if we get a move above this 25.50 level or this like $20 level, I would be looking for potential these as potential places to go long or short below. But right now we're kind of just in a box between $20 and $25. So I would be looking to go long above here, short below here. But at this point, just wait until earnings is tomorrow. So just wait till after earnings and trade it after earnings. You're because if you don't know what implied volatility is and you're trading earnings, you're going to have a rough time. You might get a good one here and there, but it'll do you some good to go look over what the earnings or what implied volatility is. Because if you're buying options, a lot of times you're going to get IB crushed. I know people that just trade earnings solely and they sell premium on it and they make money consistently doing it. Now I don't do that, but I do know there's people that do it. They don't buy contracts when it goes into earnings. They sell them. So they're on the exact opposite side of you, basically. But that's kind of my take on that. Just wait till after earnings and look for over this level and below this level, and then you've got a gap fill. But really, I'd be looking to take profit closer to this area right here, right around 1850. And then, well, it might even be, it actually looks more like that $18 level. And then upside target here. I think there's pretty clear resistance here around 27. So yeah, that's what I'd be looking for. SMH. Okay, this one. I think this one's going to follow whatever the market does and whatever Nvidia does. So whatever you think the market is going to do, that's what I would go ahead and trade it as such. But right now we've got EMA stacked to the downside, so technically we are in a downtrend. It's lagging a little behind the market, as you can see, and behind Nvidia. So I would rather, like, if you think the market's going to go up and you want to play semiconductors, I would go with Nvidia because it's showing more strength and it has a squeeze, and it's just showing more strength. So that's what I would do personally. Um, yeah. So for that one, that's what I would be doing. Just because you can see here, look where this pattern kind of is now. It's got that ABC pattern going on, but it hasn't broke that neckline. And you could take the breakout of 220 on this. But if you look at NVIDIA, it actually has started that breakout over this ABC area already. And the EMAs are stacked. It's just a better looking setup. So that's kind of my take on SMH. I would trade NVIDIA over that if you think the market's going to go higher. Carvana. Okay, so this one is just in a straight short squeeze. So, okay, for this one, now those of you that were asking about Palantir, um, this is what I would be doing is like looking at a stock that's like this, okay? Because we made a huge gap up after earnings, and now what I'd be looking for is a continuation above this. So you can see here, with this, we have number one, we had a huge gap up. Number two, we got a push above the high from that gap up on the previous day, okay? So now what I would do is drop down to a 30-minute chart and look for a squeeze and play that to the upside. You can see that would have played out here in your favor and you would have made money, like from 117 to about 123. So a $6 move. That's pretty good, about 5% in the stock. So that's how I'd be looking to play this. I would not be looking to play it any other in a different way. That's what I would be doing with this one. And so this is what I would kind of expect you to do for Palantir is wait till after earnings and then go and look for those lower time frame trades and then trade it to the upside or downside on it. And what we're going to do here is I can give you some levels here. 1 year. We don't have too many levels, but I think it's going to make its way to 150. Just you've got a level here. You've got kind of like a support level here. Yeah, I guess you'd really be looking for over that 120. Well, you've got resistance here. So maybe you want to look for like that 122 level. Look for a break of 122. And then you can play continuation to the upside. GME. This one just looks like a short squeeze. If you want to, it's a complete lotto trade. So if you were going to do this, you can try to play the upside, but if you notice, every single time we've popped, it's sold off besides the one time in like 2020 or 2021. So every other time it's sold off. So honestly, I would just look to short it, in my personal opinion. And me personally, like if you had to play it, I wouldn't trade it personally, but I think it has pretty good potential to short it right around this area here. Because every time it's getting sold off, or every time it's popping, it's being sold off. Pop, sell off, 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 pop, sell off. It's just you can see it made that one high, and then it looks exactly like that chart of the emotional roller coaster of a trader. If you haven't seen it, just look it up. NIO. This one, I think it's going to do whatever kind of K-Web does. So, there's nothing really to do with this one. It looks like a pullback and a downtrend. So I would be looking for opportunities to short this one because you've got resistance here that we broke for the kind of the first time in a long time. So I'd be looking to short it here. SoFi, this one also looks like a short that you could short this to the downside and look for a move lower. I think that you could try to target this support area here, right around 650, and then look if it can break there, look for it to continue lower below that. Coin. Okay, this one, it looks like it's kind of starting this downtrend. So maybe look for whatever Bitcoin looks like. So let's take a look at Bitcoin real quick. This one just looks choppy. It's probably trying to form another weekly squeeze. I don't think I'd trade this one. It doesn't look ready to do anything. So, if anything, you might want to look for a continuation move lower because you can see here we made a high and then we failed to make more highs and then now we're doing this. So, I'd look for kind of a move back down lower. So if I look at like Bitcoin futures, let's see. Yeah, I think there's potential for us to go retest 50,000. But right now it's just sloppy and there isn't really much I would do with it here. And that same thing goes for coin. DJT. I think this one's just in a box and it's probably going to continue to be in a box. It's just a meme stock. If you see momentum in it, then you can play it right now, or you can play it. And if there isn't momentum, there's no reason to play it. But if you're gonna put money towards it, just uh just expect to lose your money on it, really, is what I would say. Just expect to lose your money on it. And so basically size for zero, it's either going to be a big play or a little play, but I don't like the fact that it popped up and sold off. It doesn't look like it will make another high. It's probably, yeah. So unless Trump comes out with some news, right? Kava, I think this one looks good. I think it's probably going to run into earnings. It's ignoring what the market is doing. It's right near all-time highs. I think that it's going to probably have a run in earnings because the earnings report was good before. The earnings report seemed to be pretty good here. So I wouldn't be surprised if people are trying to front run the earnings and then kind of they're going to overprice it and then it will sell off, is what I would imagine would happen. BTW. I don't know what this is. Um, this one looks like a long. I think it looks pretty good, similar to the market. So this one looks like the market, so trade it the same way you would be looking at the market. Yes, you could play Kava into earnings. I think that definitely could work. I think it's a pretty high probability setup, especially if you think the market's going to go higher. All of these are contingent on if the market is going to work um, to the upside. You need the market. Tesla. So this one, it got to move on earnings. You want to see it hold. Let's kind of see here. So you've got support here. So if it holds this support, just look for a continuation higher. And then we work left to right. You can see we've got resistance here, so you can play the over-under game and look for, there's kind of your levels so that you can use. So if Tesla is going to kind of give up what it did, then you can just look for a levels all up in here. No. Okay, so that's what I would be looking for. Look for a move below here in the EMAs. Really, okay, this is how I'd play if you're playing it on a longer term basis. Look for above 193.5 or below 164.5. You can look for a break below here as an early entry, the 177 area, but that's how I look at it.
Are you in a club?
Looks like a short to me. Looks like it may find some support right here. And then it may find some support right here. So I would be looking for, I think you could easily short this thing into, it's in a bear flag. This chart looks really good for the downside. So I think you could short this, looking for it to head back to this low. And then if it breaks that low, look for it to move into like that 125 area. But all right, guys. That's, I think I went through all of them. I don't think I missed any. But that's the charts. I gave you the setups here, and we've got, so SPY, just a real quick, make sure you got it. So what we're looking for is between those two levels of 515 and 507, looking to trade in between those. And those are kind of the major breakout areas. And then from there, we're just going to be trading it. So we're mainly day trading because I think we're going to see chop for the next at least 2 weeks, maybe a month. But all right, guys, thank you guys for coming. And I will put this recording up and I'll see you for the markets tomorrow.